Welcome to this session of Class 12th Biology. I am C.G. Nagaraj, ex-headmaster of DMS, Regional Institute of Education, Mysore. I've been teaching biology since my start of my career in DMS, Mysore. Today, we will try to learn a few important points that you must remember about drugs and alcohol, how to use it and not how to abuse it. See, both drugs and alcohol have become a part of our social life. We should know how to use them rather than knowing how to abuse them. Therefore, we shall try to have a small learning session on this particular subject of drugs and alcohol. By this time, since you are in class 12, you already might have learned quite a bit, and some of you even might have tasted either one of them. We shall not go into that in detail, but from the point of view of the examination, from the point of view of understanding the concepts, how to use the drugs and alcohol, we shall examine this chapter. Let us try to know really what do we really mean by drugs and alcohol. Normally we use this in daily life, but we shall try to know what really drug means in the class 12. It's a medicine or any other substance. It may be a chemical that particularly have effect on physiological activities of our human system when it is taken in, either in the form of injection or in the form of tablet or in the form of powder or in any form. If that is taken into the system, that will have effect on our physiological system. That means the entire physiology of the body, the neurological function, the intestinal function, the endocrine function, the muscular function, all these things, attention, memory, all these things may be affected by means of drugs. I am not telling what type of drug is good or bad, but drug of any kind has physiological effect. Even medicines have physiological effect. Medicine is a part of the drug. You know, in the past, the First World War and Second World War happened, and the pharmaceutical companies introduced painkillers, not knowing people got addicted to that. Now the entire industry is one which is preparing painkillers in the form of medication. They call it medication. For our purpose, we call it drug, to understand that. So any drug will have physiological effect. Second one is alcohol. We normally take alcohol for granted and we may not know even from where we get the alcohol. It's a drink, whereas the drug may be in the powder form, tablet form, but alcohol cannot be in the powder form or in the tablet form. It should be as a drink, liquid form that contains ethanol. Ethanol is a product produced by the microbial activity on the sugar containing substances. That may be from the grains or it may be from similar sources or fruits, etc., where sugar is there. So sugar gets activated upon by microbes, and that will produce the ethanol, and that is distilled and then packed up in different ways to form alcohol. You know, the story of the alcohol is not today. It may be from centuries behind us, kings, soldiers, and aristocratic families were experiencing this drink in one form or the other. They used to call draksha rasa sometimes. Sometimes it's called amruta, or whatever the name you call it, but there was a content of alcohol in that. Even alcohol has effect on our physiology. The first thing I have seen, people who drink and drive a car will lose the balance because both the cerebrum and cerebellum will not be working in the way the person wants, and therefore it has effect on the brain and other systems. We shall look into that in detail maybe in the next few PPTs. But now you should be able to know that both the drug and the alcohol are consumed by people for social gatherings or for medical purposes or for any other purpose. When these things are consumed into the body in any form, of course, drugs can be injected, alcohol cannot be injected. Alcohol has to be taken as a drink. So these two will have effect on our physiology of the system, and it will have effect on many aspects of our life. We should look into that in the next PPTs. We will ask a small question: what and why people take either drugs or alcohol or both sometimes? There are four important reasons for which people use alcohol or drug. One, it is used as a stimulant, used as a depressant, and also as painkillers and hallucinogens. So these are the four important properties drugs and alcohol have. All these are visible or experienceable by people when they take it. Sometimes it becomes a stimulant to stimulate youngsters. You know, many athletes have been detected using stimulants for their athletic activities. So there will be a dope test, they call it. All these are the drugs. Depressants are those will try to reduce the physiological activity of our body. Therefore, some depressants are taken, drugs are there, alcohol also is a depressant. And painkiller. Alcohol may not be a painkiller, but you have seen in movies, especially English movies, where soldiers get shot in the bullet. They use bottles of drink and they consume it. Maybe their cerebrum, they want to stop cerebrum to think about the pain, but I do not know how it works. But anyway, both alcohol and drugs are consumed for that purpose also. And hallucinogens means they produce some kind of imagination that is not there, that is non-existent. Especially drugs will do that. Ganja, hashish, charas, all these things will do that. We know large number of youths studying in degree classes, both boys and girls, sometimes will become victim to that. We cannot avoid that, but you should be careful about these drugs and alcohol which may do all the four functions. So we will try to know a little more about these things in the next PPT. One group of drug called opioids. These drugs can be taken either in the form of powder or in the form of a tablet, or we can put them in the water and drink it also. These drugs are called opioids. They will attack the receptors of the brain, opioid receptors, and they do not allow to receive any sensitive information from the neurons. And therefore they will produce a kind of a hallucination in the people, those who have the opioids. Opium is one, heroin is another one, hashish, and they are called sometimes charas. It will be a white powder like structure. Normally people either they take it orally or they smell it, and they do many types of activities on that. Maybe we will not go into that one, because by teaching that you may even think of trying that. I do not want to discuss much on that, but I would like to say only one thing. Opioid or a group of drugs, they are harmful to human beings when it is consumed, and in the beginning it may be just a habit, but habit becomes an addiction, and therefore we should not think of even these drugs. Now, generally taken by smelling it, people smell it, or it may be taken in the form of injection. They call it a shot. They take it, and these are not very good to human beings. Please don't think of this at all. Only for information, I am giving this to you, but it is given in your textbook. You can read that. In my opinion, there is no need for us to look into structural aspect of these drugs, because biochemistry is the one that deals on that. For our purpose, we should know that any kind of drug that we take into our system is not very good, it is harmful. That's all. As a biology teacher, that's all I would like to talk about this particular drug. The second group of drugs obtained from plants, especially called cannabinoids. These are taken from different plants, especially flowers and stem. South America is very famous for that. They take the flowers, dry it, get the powder, and then powder will be packed in the small pouches, and they will send it to people to consume it. So these cannabinoids also are very bad drugs. They also attack the cerebral cortex and other parts. Any kind of drug, as I told you earlier, we should not think of that. One of them is called cocaine. Cocaine is another form, uh, who take either in the form of a sometimes a drink or an injection, or they even snorting, means they smell it. So these are all group of medications which normally used in the earlier days. People, especially for soldiers who got wounded, all these drugs were used, but gradually they became known to people, and they started using it for their social living, and some of them sometimes they become addicts. So we will not go in much detail about these drugs. Again, I would like to say the cannabinoids are group of drugs taken or completely what you call extracted from the plants, and sometimes datura, poppy plants, all these plants will produce. Even I would not like to name the plants, because sometimes people may even try that, but we only feel that the cannabinoids again belong to a group of drugs. They also are bad for our human physiology. Uh, some of the drugs that are normally used as medicine are for example, barbiturates, then amphetamines, then diazepams they are called. Some of these are used as medicines. They are prescribed by the doctors. But when once we know the prescription, and people may start using it beyond the time of medical prescription. They may start using it. I have seen many people using diazepam tablets as sleeping tablets. So you know that in the newspapers you get sometimes news telling that so and so very famous people use sleeping tablets and they die. So sleeping tablets may be prescribed by the doctor to help you to overcome a disease called insomnia. But people try to cheat the doctors and they start using it. And therefore, we should be very careful in looking at what drugs we are taking, what drugs doctors are prescribing, and we should cultivate a habit of only adhering to the prescription, not go beyond that. That's one of the important points you must learn in 12th standard biology. Even as if you become a doctor, you have to ask your patients whether you have stopped that particular drug or not. I have seen in my life patients who got diazepam tablets for 15 days. They use the same prescription to get it for years together because they know the pharmaceutical company, they know the shop where they buy medication. They may be diabetic people, they may be people suffering from some disease, but they go and get those drugs. Similarly, antihistamines, which are also will produce sleep, induce sleep. So these are all very bad drugs. We should only listen to doctors and do not go beyond that. See, the class 12 biology, these things you must learn not from the point of examination, but from the point of using these things for a healthy life. That's why this topic is given, and do not practice or over practice taking medications as prescribed by the doctor. If you become a doctor, you must ask your patients whether you have stopped it or not. Please do that. Keep in your mind. We are coming to another important area, tobacco. When you say tobacco, it's not the leafy tobacco we are talking about it. In the earlier days, people used to use tobacco as tambaku and they used to chew along with betel nuts. That habit has gone by because many people suffered from tongue and mouth cavity cancer. So people have given it up. But young people have picked up the social habit of smoking cigarettes. I don't think the BDs are not being smoked by the students, but I found even some students smoke BDs also, which is filled with some kind of a smack. The language they use is smack. So it's not snack but smack. So tobacco is now comes in the form of especially cigarettes as a social habit. Young adolescents like you may start smoking and then it becomes a habit. When once you become little stressed, you want to get away from stress and start smoking, then it becomes a habit becomes addiction, and sometimes people smoke. To give my own example, during my younger days, I used to smoke about 10, 20 to 30 cigarettes a day. That not only made my lungs bad, also there were family problems, issues in the family, and then people used to tell you are smelly like that. So I given my example without any hesitation. So please don't smoke. Smoking is not a good habit. Even for social purpose, you should not drink as young students. That's the advice I would like to give you. And then there is a statutory warning given by the government of India on every pack of cigarette, saying that it is injurious to health. Lungs get affected. Lungs become star-like. I have seen heavy smokers because some of my friends are doctors. They tell me when I was an active teacher, I used to go and talk with the doctors about these diseases. They used to show me some of the photographs, X-rays, and other tissue biopsies where lung tissue has become black mass-like structure. It completely destroys the respiratory system. So please don't do that. So the lesson in this particular lesson, I'm happy to tell you, use it as a lesson to learn, not to de-learn the effects of these things. Don't touch even these things. That would become a habit for you in later on. So tobacco, chewing, smoking, or whatever the type may be, is bad for health, and it will affect the lungs. And when once the lungs are not good, then we get tuberculosis and other diseases. So try to be aware of these things before you think of smoking a single cigarette. Well, I am coming to another uh, social drink that makes youngsters get attracted to this particular thing called alcohol. I have taken a picture from the common creators from the Google. You've seen the number of types of bottles kept over there. It may be gin, vodka, rum, brandy, whiskey, and whatnot. All these are all alcohol products that are consumed to begin with as a social thing. To please the friends, people start drinking, and if it becomes a habit for them, they spend a lot of money and buy it. For countries, it is an economic way to earn money, and many people get addicted and they become habitual drinkers. They lose their families, they lose their good way of living, they lose the money, they lose everything. One becomes an addiction to alcohol. And in many countries, it is a family culture. In the night, when the man comes from the work, the entire family would sit around and have drinks. That is the culture of a different nation. But that culture has started coming into our country also. In the earlier days, when we were students, we never saw either our father or mother or somebody drinking at home. Of course, they used to go to a bar and drink and come back, but in the family, drinks were not known. But today, in almost every modern family, I would say, family will enjoy drink. I don't say it's a bad thing or a wrong thing. Even I drink sometimes socially, but I don't drink every day. So if it becomes a social habit, it's fine. But if it becomes an addiction, then alcohol will give you a lot of trouble. It will create problems in the cerebrum. It will create problems in the cerebellum. Many lives are being lost in Western countries for drinking and driving. In India, also many drivers do that. Please be careful about this particular thing called alcohol. It is a very slow poison, so try to avoid it if you can. But if you need to, in a social setup, drink as little as you can. Maybe 10 cc, 20 cc. In their own language, what's called a small peg or a large one. Something of that maybe once in a way okay. But alcohol is very injurious, very bad. It destroys our digestive system. It destroys the liver. It destroys the spleen. It destroys almost every part if you become an addiction to the alcohol. Please try to avoid this as much as you can. You are all adolescents. That means you are in the age of teens. This is the age of exploration, age of experimentation, age where you can lead your life carelessly, carelessly and carefully both. So at this age, you may be due to peer pressure, due to the force of others, or due on your own, you may get, you may want to have a idea of having any of the stimulant, depressant, or painkiller, or hallucinating agent in the form of drugs or alcohol. But be careful as an adolescent. You might try once or twice, but please don't make it a habit of doing it uh, at any moment of time in your life. That will be bad and injurious not only to you, to your family, and your financial conditions will go bad. I've seen students of degree colleges using their credit cards and using hashish, ganja, and other things and spoiled their own life. Many examples are there. So, 12th standard biology should teach you all these things and also make you aware that socially it is permissible but not beyond certain level. Keep in your mind. Well, we will try to know now what are the effects of either alcohol or drugs if it is consumed in a level which is not permitted by either by the doctor or by your own body or your own family members. You may be subjected to the seizures. That means the brain may send signals for seizures where both the hand and the legs will stop working, brain will stop working, and the you get what you call lockjaw type of activity may be there, and there may be stroke. There may be a stroke in the stroke refers to a shot in the brain. The blood vessels may break and it may lead to death even. And there may be some other types of things like confusion will happen, and your cerebrum may not work properly. Cerebellum will not work properly, and like that, your memory may go away. Your decision making may change. Decision making may be not correct. So many of these things are possible. I've listed the number of bad effects the alcohol and drugs will have on human physiology. Try to remember that and try to avoid as much as you can. Do not become a victim of either alcohol or drug. You may take it once in a way, but not a regular and daily basis. That would be bad. I'm a teacher. I'm advising you both positive and negative aspect of it. Since it is in biology, I taught biology for 25 years or even more than that. So kindly follow my advice and try to follow. Don't read this chapter only for the purpose of examination. Try to understand how to apply this for life. Biology, human biology should be applied for life and not for examination purpose. How to prevent addiction or socialization aspect of it is concerned. Now try to avoid anything which is undue due to peer pressure. Peer pressure refers to your friends. If you think you cannot manage any of the drug or alcohol depending upon your body condition, please avoid that. Don't listen to the, the pressure from the peer. Listen to your own brain, your own conscious. Think of your family, think of your financial conditions. Then only you get into that. And education and counseling. By chance, if you become a victim of taking these either drug or alcohol, try to go for counseling and get good education. I have seen many young undergraduates studying for the final year examinations have become victims for this because of the low grade marks they got or something like that. And then they would have lost the entire year. Then after counseling, and psychological help. They have come up, and now they have gone to various countries for the studies. So if you are in by chance a victim of any of these things, do not hesitate. Go for counseling. Seek help from parents. Seek help from your friends who can help you out. Look for danger signs. There will be signals always given by the body. If you are overdoing anything, look for those signals and seek help from professionals and medical help. You go for them. Don't hesitate to tell them that you are an addict, you want help if you are someone like that. If you are not like that, don't think of getting into that habit. That's all my advice in this biology class. I have just taken a few questions from your textbook. Try to answer them by reading your textbook. Of course, my lecture, this particular topic, what I given, may not help you to answer them. Try to answer them by reading your textbook. List the harmful effects caused by alcohol or drug abuse, not by using, by abusing that. Abusing means overdoing many things. Do you think that friends can influence one to take alcohol or drugs? Do you think so? If say yes, then tell why you think so. Why is that once a person starts taking alcohol or drug, difficult for him to get rid of it if he takes it a habit? The word is habit. If it becomes a habit for you, if it becomes a social drink, drink once in a way in the party, well, I think we have to accept that in the modern days. But if it is a daily habit, sometimes in the family, father will sit down with the mother and drink the whole night perhaps. And that may be a wrong thing for youngsters to follow. So please watch for these things, try to answer them. And I hope you will learn these things. As I told you earlier, this biology class should help you not to pass the examination, but to learn the lessons for your life. The end we are coming of this biology lesson. I would like to acknowledge my gratefulness to NCRT textbook from where I got the content because I am a retired teacher. I have taken the content from the NCRT book. They have written very well. And I have taken some information from Google, YouTube, and also from common creators. So for all these people, I am grateful to them. I thank all of them on behalf of everyone. As I told you, please remember this particular talk, little advice what I have given should be for your life, not for your examination. With this, I again emphasize that the 12th biology is to make your life more meaningful than to pass the examination. Of course, you have to pass the examination with a credit. Read the book and try to go to that level also. Thank you all. Have a good day.